Happy Tuesday. Facebook's doing funky things today, so we'll see how this goes. Hey, hey. Just go ahead and say hey when you're popping on. I have good, fun stuff to talk to you about today. Let me just do the thing where I make sure that we're all in the right place at the right time, doing the right things. Oh, maybe Facebook's being weird. There we go. Come on. Turn down my volume so we don't echo. Yes, good, good. Turn out my volume. Yep, you can hear me. That's all that matters. Okay, so if you heard, if you heard last week's podcast episode, then you know exactly what we're here to talk about today. If you read the description, you also know. Um, so if you haven't listened to the podcast, go ahead, go listen to that, check that out. I'm talking about colic. It's the awful C word that we talk about in the horse world because it seems to come out of nowhere and all the things, and you'll get more detail in the podcast because I can ramble a lot longer. But today we have 20 minutes and we have visuals. So I wanted to be able to come in. This is what I couldn't do on the podcast. Oh, also say hello to Sock Monkey. Isn't Sock Monkey cute? Sock Monkey has the goodness today. Being that it's so friggin' cold here, Sock Monkey has my hot chocolate that I'm nursing before I head out to see clients this afternoon. So anyway, go listen to the podcast because the podcast is going to break down more detail and things to look for about different types of colic and talk about the experience that I just had with it. Thankfully, knocking on the wood, I have not had a crap ton of experience with colic. I know some of you out there have, and for those of you that have, hopefully it's not just been with one horse, and if it is, I am so sorry. And even if you've had to deal with it with lots of different horses, also so sorry. But it's going to look different every time, right? And so I know that so often the response to, I knew it, I left the door open. Lay down, please. Go lay down. Go. Down. All the way down. Down. Lay down. Wait. Thank you. Thank you and sorry. Sorry so much. Anyway, it's going to look different for every horse, potentially every time, because we don't always know what's causing the colic. It's hard to say where it's coming from, and it probably feels different depending on where it's coming from, right? So anyway, I wanted to break this down and show you. I want to show you what you can do, because so often the protocol is call the vet and walk the horse. Call the vet and walk the horse, right? And that's not always, it's always a good plan. It's always a good plan. Call the vet is always a good plan. It's not going to hurt anything. Walking the horse isn't always necessary, and calling the vet isn't always going to get you an instant reaction. We are running on vet shortages, right? There aren't as many veterinarians out there. Even in my area, we went from having 4 or 5 options really local to me for equine care to having one. And yeah. How many emergencies, right? How many emergencies can happen in the same day, in the same night, in the same weekend that might keep your vet from showing up for you as fast as we would hope that they're able to show up. So with that in mind, I want to give you some tools. I want to show you some things. So first and foremost, I probably don't have them right here because they're probably still out on my kitchen counter because I use them. But peppermint essential oil and Digize essential oil blend. It would be Digestin or something like that from doTERRA. So I have Young Living oils, so those are the names that I know. But I think it's called Digestin, something like that. And obviously, if you get your oils from a different company, then I'm even further from being able to help you with exactly what it is. But the point is, you can look up the Digize blend on Young Living's website, and it'll kind of give you an idea of what's in it, and you can find something comparable. It is a digestive support. Peppermint is a digestive support. Back in the day, all right, before we had things like Metamucil and is it Metamucil? I don't even know. Tums and what's the pink one? Whatever that Pepto Bismol. Before we had that, which by the way, Pepto is minty. Okay, those pink dinner mints that we used to get at places, they're like round and kind of soft. They're candy to me. But anyway, those are peppermint flavored. And the reason there's so much peppermint in these digestion things is because it is a natural aid in digestion. So why would we not rely on that? So when it comes to horses and colic or you and your belly upset, just smelling some peppermint can make a huge difference. Okay, whether it's explosive or stopped up, it can help. Okay, breathing it is enough. When we're using peppermint, we want to be very cautious and aware of that it might be tingly burny. It might burn, it might feel really cold. It's a hot oil. If you get it in your eyes, never use water. It drives it deeper. Water is bad. Always use a fat carrier oil like coconut to kind of slow down the absorption through the skin or into your eyeballs. Have I done that? Yes, I have. Yes, it was horrible. It was horrible. It's the worst experience of my life. So you're going to want to use caution, but aromatically, breathing it is enough to make a difference. In the moment, right? Because I just kind of went through this with one of my horses, I can tell you that in the moment, you're going to be a little bit more on edge. You're going to be a little bit more like, what the fuck do I do? And oh my God, right? So in order to keep things super simple, I don't topically apply peppermint all willy-nilly in these moments because I'm already trying to find the thermometer and the Vaseline and the oils themselves and where's my red light and blah, all the things, right? So I apply Digize. I apply Digize, and I put it right in the belly button area on my horse. I'll let them breathe it too. If they want to lick the peppermint, if they want to lick the Digize, that's totally okay with me. I did actually also put some on my fingers and rub it inside Lightning's lip when this happened with us, because this is inside your mouth is a really good tissue source for quick absorption. So I did do that. Digize, peppermint, must-haves, okay? Because they're not going to hurt anything, but they can help. Next, the next thing, I have a diagram here. We're going to get to that. But get an acupressure book. Get yourself to the Amazons and get yourself an equine acupressure book. I have several. These are just the two that I have handy dandy. So much in here. Acupressure is super easy. This does explain in both of these books. It does explain how to apply acupressure, what it actually is, how to safely use it. And then it gives you these handy dandy like breakdowns. Both these books do. I think this one is a little bit better. Equine Acupressure, a working manual, is a little bit better for the kinds of things that we're talking about today, like colic, where it's going to give you points for nervousness and anxiety, for pre-performance treatments, for cold and cough, for cribbing, right? It's going to give you the colic. It's going to give you certain points that are going to help in certain situations, and it's going to actually explain where the point is, what it's called, which nobody cares, right? We're like, in this moment, I don't care what it's called, and then what it can be leading you to. So if you find a point that's working really well, it's going to help narrow down where the problem issue is. This is always super helpful when the vet shows up. If you can be like, this is what I noticed, right? If we're spending the time that we're waiting for the vet, one, doing the best we can to help our horses be comfortable, two, taking in as much possible information that we can, like that's going to be so helpful in the what do we do next and what's actually going on, right? So being able to use acupressure is going to provide the relief. It's going to help you get some more information, but most importantly, hopefully it's going to help rectify the problem, right? So I will show you on handy dandy horsey here. I did lots of different acupressure points. However, I also went off book, okay? because I know a lot of anatomy. I went off book and I used my red light. So that's the other thing that is really handy. And I don't have it right here because I'm packed up to go see clients. Um, but I have a red light pen. So it allows me to really target in on a point, which is great for applying it to acupressure points, as you would imagine. And so that is what I used. And that makes so much sense because think about it. When you have a stomach ache, when your stomach hurts really bad, that you're like curled up in a ball, do you want anybody to touch you? Do you want anybody poking and prodding you? Probably not. And your horse doesn't either. So the red light gives me the ability to make an impact without having to put my hands on them. And so you've got a couple points. One that's going to be right behind this bone here. So this is the, oops, other way. We're reversed, we're mirrored. um, this is the top of the pelvis. Okay, this is the ilium here and the tuber, however everybody else says it. I just call it the ilium. Okay, let's keep it nice and simple. So right in front of and right behind, again, I'm mirrored, and just ignore which way is my fingers going because it doesn't know. Right behind and right in front of this bone are points that can be good for colic. Okay. The other point that I personally use because of what I was observing with my horse was actually just kind of in front of the stifle and underneath. So somewhere in here-ish, I was just shining my light. And my horse told me that that was a spot, that there was action happening there. Okay. He reacted. He knew what he was like. What are you doing? There was very much action in that spot. Again, get your own copy, study these, keep it with you. I mean, heck, keep it in your barn if you can. It's just good to have. I mean, there's so much more information than that in there, but for this, it's fabulous. The other thing you can do is open up meridian lines. So, for example, those points are both on the bladder meridian. So the bladder meridian is going to run from up here all the way down along the crest and down and over and all the way down the leg, the back to the back of the hoof here. You can just swipe over that like you're petting it, but I mean, you don't even have to make that much pressure like you're petting. Okay, you just swipe over that. You can do it on both sides. It's going to open up that meridian. That can be helpful. Okay, but what I really wanted to talk to you about, what I really wanted to share with you because of who I am and what I do, being a massage background, I want you to know that you can actually do some light massage. Again, your horse has to want you to touch them. They have to be okay with you touching them. And you can massage. You can do it on both sides. Okay, you can do it on both sides. Kind of right in front of the flank here, this area. Or on this side, this area, right? And the reason that we do that is when we look at the insides. Okay, so this up here, the top picture represents the left. So we can see we've got, I have to read. We've got, I'm not reading you these things, all these things, but we have descending colon up in here. And obviously we've got some intestinal stuffs. Okay, and then on the right side, we have, again, mirrored images. We have the cecum, mirrored image. I'm going to get it one day. And so the cecum is part of that hindgut situation, okay? And when we massage both of these sides, we're encouraging movement and blood flow to the tissues underneath our hands, okay? And so when we massage in those particular areas, very gently, because your horse is probably uncomfortable, and if they tell you no, then leave them the F alone, right? But we can massage in those areas to increase circulation and increase movement. So if you've ever had a massage yourself, you may have actually experienced improved digestion before, during, well, not before, but probably after or even during your session, right? And that is a real thing. And so we get to apply that same concept to our own horses. Massaging along this side, I always recommend that we do the right side because that's usually going to be more effective. It's just, I can't even explain to you 100% why. I just know that in all of the cases and like actual experiences of colic, this is the side that really improves getting things moving. And I suppose I could dig into that a little bit more and understand it better. I just haven't. And that's just me being honest with you and telling you that there's some things that I know really deeply, and this is not one of them. I know a lot of anatomy from going through the osteopathic program, but I have not dived. I have not dived that deep into digestion at this point. I just know that the cecum is often a place that we have issues with ulcers, and it can definitely contribute to colic situations. So, if you want to hear more about colic in particular and the causes and contributors and things like that, definitely go check out the podcast that I did last week, because that is a huge part of what we talked about. It was the whole thing, really. It was the whole thing, because I did have an issue with my own horse. And, if this whole group, this whole thing, everything that I do is always with the intention and underlying purpose that you become more empowered to do things yourself. Not because we shouldn't be asking for help, because we deserve to be supported, and help is there, and we can get it, right? If you ask, you shall receive. But because there are moments, there are times when you are alone, and there is no one there to help you, and you can call the vet, and they're still going to be hours out, and they might not even have time to walk you through what you're going through, because they are working with another animal, and that is a really difficult and trying situation to be in my case. Of course, everything happens at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, and I can call the vet, right? And listen to the podcast, and you'll understand a little bit more of why I didn't immediately call the vet. um, but the call can be made, but it doesn't mean that someone's going to respond right away. And so, knowing that I had the tools that I needed and options and things that I could do, it really just it made a difference. Did I still call my mommy? Yes. And then did she spit back to me half of the things that I'd already done? Yes. Sometimes we do just want someone to be supportive and be there with us through the moment of high stress, and that's totally fine. But the reality is when I called my mom, who has obviously more experience with horses than I do because she's been on the planet longer, um, she gave me the things that I'd already done, and I was like, yeah, I've already done all those things and all the things that I know how to do, right? I'd already done everything, and on one hand, that was really reassuring, and on the other hand, I was like, but why is this still happening, right? And everything worked out just fine. So also, what I didn't mention, keep in your back pocket, if you're familiar at all with energy work or prayer. Yeah, guys. Because when you say a prayer, whether you believe that it's just prayer or not, I mean, it's energy work. Prayers are energy work. They're setting intentions and sending loving, positive, healing energy in a direction. So you absolutely have the control to do that for your horse, and you should, and it will benefit them. And the more that you believe that it'll help, the more that it will. Again, this is not, none of these things are like, don't call your vet because you can do these things. They're call your vet if that's what you need to do, and also do these things. And yes, walking is good, but if your horse wants to lay down and take a nap, that's also good, right? The problem with laying down comes in when they start rolling, and that's what we want to avoid. So I hope that this was helpful to you today. Again, go check out the podcast from last week, and that will go into more detail. I'll go ahead and drop a Spotify link in the comments here. And yeah, if you happen to be a equine therapy practitioner, maybe you have seen the Keys to the Kingdom program that I have previously run quite successfully and helped Leanne book out her entire business, and several other people really establish themselves as authorities and grow their businesses and kick their 9 to 5s. That program is no longer going to be available after Saturday, January 11th, unless you enroll in the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. So if you've been thinking about or at one point considered getting into Keys to the Kingdom, this is your last shot. So I'm going to drop that link in the comments too, so you can take advantage of that. But thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know if you have any topics you want covered. I am here to serve you and help empower you to become the best possible person for your horse, and also to remind you that you are already the very best person to heal your horse. So, all right, you guys, I will talk to you later. Get out there and do some fun pony shit.